The next question is on renter protection. We've seen many neighbors leave Daly City because they could no longer afford it here. Renters now must compete for two-bedroom apartments renting for $3,000 a month or three-bedroom houses for more than $4,000 a month. Currently, Daly City has no laws to limit how often or how much rent can be increased outside of a lease, and nothing to help limit evictions. Question: other cities on the peninsula are considering tenant protection laws like rent control, rent stabilization, and just cause eviction. Should something be done here to provide renters with greater protections? If so, what specific ideas will you advocate for should you be elected? And we'll begin with Braxton Lethco.
So I wish I was a better repairman because I have the worst anxiety about asking my landlord to fix anything. I mean, some of you may rent and you may be in the same situation, but it's like I know if I ask him to fix something, he could justify raising the, this is how it is. Like I try to avoid contact with him. He's a great guy, but it's like at any time he could pull out the rug from underneath me. And it's terrifying. And it's just the way it is. So the solutions, as far as what I've done in the past, when I was at UC Santa Barbara, I was elected the Tenants Association president, and we did a rent freeze for all university residents, and it actually turned out awful. It turned out awful. I led it. You can look it up online. What happened is people kept their apartments. There was a black market for renting. It was the worst. What we did work really well when I studied at UC Berkeley was we had a percentage that landlords could increase. They could only increase it 3% annually, and based on inflation. So it was adjusted to inflation. Now that...
Oh, sorry, that's time.
Fair enough.
We'll move on to Ms. Gabriella Makstman.
So just this year, we had a family that had to leave our school because they could no longer afford to live in Westlake Apartments, which had raised their rent over 15% in 1 year. That's highway robbery. And it's a perfect example of corporate greed and complete disregard for our community. When I'm elected, I'll work with organizations such as the California Apartment Association to educate landlords on the negative impact of excessive rent increases. And I'll work together to bring renter advocates, landlords, and their representative bodies together to discuss plans to find compromise and ensure that our city continues to be somewhere where families can live and lay down their roots. A perfect example of that is a rent raise cap, which has been shown to work much better in communities than rent control, very similar to what Braxton mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ms. Juslyn Manalo.
So if elected, I would advocate for a real serious dialogue to create a plan to examine rent stabilization in Daly City with a realistic timeline with all stakeholders, because this issue has disrupted families and children who have gone to school and have to move further away from their elementary school. And also have spoken to seniors when I'm on the ground who are vulnerable and threatened that they have to leave their apartments because of their fixed incomes. I think that when elected, I would seriously have that serious dialogue and put a timeline to what we could do for rent stabilization.
Thank you. Let's move on to Mr. Glenn Sylvester.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, rent control does not work. It increases supply, and it increases demand and decreases supply. Rent control will work if you get the parties involved, the realtors, the homeowners, the tenants. Believe me, coming from a police officer side, I've seen both sides of the coin. Tenants destroy the places. You're looking at just cause, but yet the next person who's living next door, you cannot get that tenant out on just cause, even though they're lowering the quality of life. We need to come together. You get some folks who will take advantage of the situation, make a six-figure income, but they'll hold on to the apartment. Mom and dad may move out and give it to their kids. We've got to find a mechanism to enforce the rent based upon the CPI index, based upon salaries, and stay up on this. And it has to be transparent to everyone, and that's the way.
Sorry,
rent control
that's
will work.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.